Hi. Okay, so I get this question a lot, right? I don't know why, but this question, can you analyze yourself? The answer is no, but I'm not going to stop there. I mean, Freud and Jung and any psychoanalyst sure has tried, and they sure did fail miserably. But it's especially tricky for Lacanians, right? Because what is one of our mottos? That the analyst does not do any analyzing. Okay, the analyst, and it's true, the analyst does not do any analyzing. We are not like these old school Freudians where we say, this is because of that, and you dreamt of a red scarf, so that means you're going to step on a crack. We're not superstitious like that, okay? We don't correlate things like that. We say the analysand, the patient, analyzes him or herself. But you have to have an analyst in the room to do that. And why is that the case? Because what is the whole point of psychoanalysis? You are not master of your own house, right? You don't know you. And that's the issue, right? If you knew you, if you could point out all the contradictions you make, all the slips you make, the logic that your unconscious predicates your conscious life as, then you wouldn't have these problems in life. You know what you can do, though? You can do therapy for yourself. And that's why therapists don't do shit. Therapists today are essentially just for people who don't have friends, right? Or who don't have, yeah, actually that's it. Because therapists aren't really smart either. It's like listening to all these, I see these kids are getting fanatical about Jordan Peterson. Now I see why people don't like him, right? Because they listen to him and they think they have all the answers to all their problems, right? I'm talking about Jordan Peterson being interesting because he's clinical. I think it would be great to look at the transference he is provoking so as to lead us for where we should go as future psychoanalysts. And I bet he's a good, quite analytic clinical clinician, a clinical psychologist. But the people who love him are probably not going to him as a clinical psychologist, and he's probably way too busy. And he's probably not doing 10-minute, 4-minute sessions like Lacan did so he could pack in 300 people a day. Okay, but anyway, why can't you analyze yourself? Because you are not the master of your own house. You don't know yourself. Language escapes you. Language is outside of you. In fact, you can only do one thing, right? Descartes, you can doubt yourself. You can doubt that you're doubting, and you can keep on doubting, and you can doubt that you're living, and you can doubt that you're breathing. Obsessives do that all the time. And neurotics in general love doubting everything, right? They doubt if their lover loves them. They doubt if they love their lover loving them. They love doubting, okay? The analyst, at least the Lacanian analyst, or what I call a good analyst, because there's a lot of shitty Lacanians, just points out, usually in a couple words, maybe not even a word, just a aha, or look at that, the syntax of your speech, right? And what the overall guiding principle of the logic that you run your life in and that you keep running your life into walls into and everything else you keep repeating that you don't want to. Now, it is true that most of the importance of psychoanalysis doesn't necessarily happen in the session. And that's another naive assumption people have about psychoanalysis, that you have this great revelation in the middle of your session. No, that rarely happens. I mean, it happens a lot to paranoids and hysterics to some extent, but that's usually delusional, right? It happens as you're living life because the analyst has helped you. You won't even notice that it was the analyst helping you, right? It's unconscious. has helped you shine light, illustrate these points of intersection that you yourself cannot make sense of. Now, you really need what Lacan called a subject supposed to know, but what is that stupid term, right? Someone who you think is an authority, someone who you think knows more about something, namely yourself, than you do. Of course, they don't, right? But the illusion is that you think they do, and that's why you have to have transference to them. Essentially, a love relationship. And usually, best, a paternal or a maternal, regardless of sex or gender, transference, right? Because, for example, it pisses you off when your mom or dad tells you something, whether they're right or wrong, because it touches upon something of what Lacan might call the real, something that frustrates you, that you can't quite get your head around. And an analyst helps point that out. And that goes with this 20th century philosophical idea, which is probably going to be proven to be the case in neurobiology, it looks like. That language is who we are. We construct meaning. We even unconsciously construct how our thought structures itself and plays out in life through concepts or ideas which are only able to be made because we have the capacity for language. After you've done analysis for a while, you do get a little bit better at recognizing your linguistic thought patterns. But you never, ever truly know yourself. Because language is always somewhere else, right? A friend of mine, Alvin Noe, wrote a great book, essentially a cognitive science book, arguing against a neuroscientist called Out of Your Head, or Out of Our Heads. It's essentially a phenomenological take on why you are not merely your brain. And for him, it's not just language, but I'm going to concentrate on language because that's what analysts work with. That's our medium. I can give you basic examples, right? We only can agree that this is a pen because we have the word pen. There's no penness to the pen. But nonetheless, we share that meaning. But we don't quite share it on a one-to-one basis, on a 100% basis. It's still just a signification, a verbal signification prone to all sorts of slippages. So slips are not only when you say your mother and mean your mother. It's also when the syntax of your speech belies itself in a way that is clearly in line with some of the mistakes, repetitions, and behaviors that you conduct in everyday life and relationships and the attainment of knowledge and communication. So everyone is delusional. Everyone is hypocritical. That's what Freud taught us. But you're especially delusional if you think you can analyze yourself, because you will never see just how much of a hypocrite you are. But you gotta, really generalize what I just said to an epistemic, mental, psychological level. But this is why Americans especially so used to this therapy culture, this culture of self-help bullshit, this culture of, oh, you're having a hard time? Oh, that must feel horrible. Oh, here, let me give you a tissue. I'm sorry. You know, he's an asshole. She's a narcissist. You know, that's what's going on. No, we don't do any of that crap, okay? Matter of fact, we are basically in our own heads. It looks like we're not paying attention to you because we're not paying attention to all of that bullshit, right? We're not paying attention to your emotions. We're paying attention to the things that are actually going to help untie the knots that the discourse of Western society has tied. The contradictions, the conflicts, the self-impeding behaviors, the destructive behaviors, the too good behaviors, but we don't realign anything. We just point it out because you can't point it out yourself. Thank you. Anyway, the analysand, the patient, does all the analyzing. The analyst does no analyzing, but you need the analyst in order to do the analyzation of yourself. And it does help you enjoy life or make life less painful. And it's hard to believe a lot of times. All psychoanalysts go in and out of believing this shit until you get to a point where you realize, wow, okay, you accept who you are. You enjoy your symptom. And then if you get to a point where you don't have those symptoms, you never really get symptom-free, but where you can live better with those symptoms, psychoanalysis is also just very, very interesting. Right? What's more interesting than really philosophically looking at how you encounter the world? Thank you.